It was a moonless night in Las Vegas, and I had booked an Airbnb for a jiu-jitsu tournament. The studio apartment seemed perfect, but the host's profile gave me an uneasy feeling. It had a single image, a delicate white flower. Strange, but I dismissed it, attributing it to quirks of online profiles. The night began uneventfully. I settled into the cozy studio, my gear scattered across the floor, and the neon lights of the Vegas Strip flickering through the curtains. The entry code to the apartment was far too simple, 1234. Still, I felt secure in the locked room. Around midnight, as I lay awake, there came a soft, rhythmic tapping on the window. Panic washed over me, my heart pounding like a drum. I cautiously approached the window, pulling the curtain aside just a fraction, and there it was, a silhouette lurking in the darkness, a hand, gnarled and menacing, tapped insistently on the glass. "Who's there?" I stammered, my voice trembling. The intruder's response sent shivers down my spine. A voice, cold and emotionless, whispered back, "Let me in." With a sinking feeling, I realized this was no ordinary break-in. The stranger knew my name. I stumbled backward, fumbling for my phone, and dialed 911 as I barricaded the door with a chair. Minutes felt like hours, and the intruder continued to tap, their whispers growing more eerie. "I know you're alone," they hissed. "You can't hide." Finally, the distant wails of sirens grew louder, and I heard the police arrive. As the officers apprehended the intruder, a grim revelation emerged. The assailant was my Airbnb host, the one with the peculiar flower profile. But the terror didn't end there. The host remained eerily calm, his eyes vacant, muttering incoherently. The police found a disturbing array of surveillance equipment in his apartment, all pointing towards mine. It was a chilling revelation. The host had been spying on me, and I had walked straight into his trap. My heart raced as I realized the extent of the danger I had been in. The advice I'd give to anyone listening to this story is to always trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. And when you're traveling, ensure your safety by checking reviews and profiles thoroughly. It's a lesson I learned the hard way, in the sinister world of a late-night intruder at the Airbnb, where danger lurked behind the fragile facade of a delicate white flower. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows upon the dense Vermont forest, my partner Emily and I found ourselves in the heart of an isolated cabin we'd rented for the weekend. It was the perfect escape from the chaos of our city lives. A cozy place with no electricity and surrounded by the tranquility of nature. As darkness settled in, the cabin's rustic charm took on a foreboding atmosphere. The only source of light came from a flickering kerosene lamp, casting eerie, dancing shadows on the walls. The absence of modern technology had initially been part of the allure, but as the night deepened, an unsettling stillness enveloped us. It began with a soft thud, barely perceptible over the crackling of the fire. We exchanged nervous glances, attributing it to the settling of the old cabin. But then it happened again, louder this time, followed by an unmistakable scraping sound, like nails against wood. My heart raced, and Emily clutched my arm, her eyes wide with fear. The noises persisted, growing louder and more frequent. Bangs echoed through the cabin, and the walls seemed to vibrate with each impact. It was as if an unseen force was relentlessly assaulting the cabin, trying to breach its walls. Our initial assumption of creaky timbers and drafty windows gave way to sheer terror. Desperate to escape, I opened the front door, but all we found outside was an impenetrable darkness and the unnerving sound of branches rustling. We were isolated, far from any neighbors, with no cell service and no way to call for help. The night wore on, and the disturbances escalated, shaking us to our core. We huddled together, clutching flashlights like lifelines, waiting for dawn's blessed light to save us. The cabin's silence was now broken by our trembling breaths, the occasional sob, and the unrelenting onslaught from the unknown. With the first light of dawn, the noises ceased abruptly. Our eyes met, relief flooding through us, yet unease lingered. We ventured outside, scanning for any clues, but the forest offered no answers. A sense of eerie emptiness surrounded us. As we reluctantly prepared to leave, a local ranger approached us. He listened to our story with a knowing look and a faint smile. It wasn't a prank, nor was it the cabin's ghosts. It was something much darker, he told us. Deep in those woods lay an abandoned graveyard, the final resting place for a nefarious cult. They had once terrorized this land, and some believed their malevolent spirits still haunted it. Our blood ran cold, knowing we had unknowingly invited this sinister presence into our lives. The ranger's advice was simple: never return to that cabin, for the spirits there were unrelenting. And as we drove away, the cabin disappearing in the rearview mirror, I couldn't help but glance back, fearing that something from the haunted past was still watching us from the woods. In the end, I offer this advice to anyone who ventures into the unknown. Be wary of places untouched by time, for some secrets are best left buried, lest you awaken something that should have stayed asleep. As I sat alone in the dimly lit living room of the secluded Arizona Airbnb, my nerves were on edge. I was here for a crucial job interview, and the solitude was meant to be my refuge, a place to relax and prepare for the big day. But what was happening in this strange desert house was anything but comforting. It all started that first night, around 9 p.m. As I huddled on the couch, rehearsing my interview responses, a faint tap at the window cut through my concentration. I swiveled my head to the left, peering into the inky blackness outside. I brushed it off, thinking it could be a bug, but something about it felt off. The following day, my interview went well, and I decided to make the most of my remaining time in the area. I explored the town, dined at different restaurants, and enjoyed the picturesque desert view from the Airbnb's backyard. It was a day well spent, and I returned to the rental as the sun dipped below the horizon. That night I was back in the living room, wrapped up in the latest episode of Breaking Bad on Netflix. My heart still raced from the prior night's experience, but I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. But then, it happened again. A single tap on the window, not a bug, not the wind. My stomach clenched, and I rose from the couch. My heart pounded as I hurried to the window, but once again, there was no one to be seen in the inky abyss outside. Doubt turned into fear as I cautiously checked the front windows and then ventured outside. Still, there was no one in sight. I called out, warning anyone lurking to leave, but my words echoed into the darkness. The night that followed was the climax of my terror. After watching TV, I switched off the lights and tried to sleep. Within seconds of lying down, a muffled clicking noise emerged from the closet. My skin prickled with fear as I stared at the half-open door. In a panicked frenzy, I grabbed my phone and car keys, bolting out of the house. I called the police and sat in the car, watching the silent house with trepidation. All my belongings remained inside, but my safety came first. The police arrived and conducted a thorough search, but the house was empty, no signs of forced entry, no evidence of an intruder. I booked a nearby hotel, thankful for the relief of 4 solid walls around me. When I contacted Airbnb and the host, I received only a partial refund, and the incident remained an unsettling mystery. Was it the host or a stranger? To this day, I question who was responsible for the mysterious intrusions. The chilling truth is that sometimes the horrors of reality are far more unsettling than any supernatural tale. But here's my advice. If you ever find yourself in a strange and isolated place, trust your instincts. Your safety should always come first, no matter the cost.